Twisted people, it's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR, and I am joined today by my partner in many ways, Michael Damian.
Woo! Thank you for having me, and I love your new intro. That's why, it came in on me going, "Oh, that was new." I loved it.
Yeah, I'm trying new stuff, y'all. So, thank you for joining. We are doing Halloween Kills. And we are doing a deep dive spoiler discussion. We're going to be talking Halloween Kills. We're going to be talking, what the deal is with Michael Myers. Decisions were made. So there will be spoilers here. If you haven't seen Halloween Kills and you don't want to be spoiled, I'm all about the spoilers sometimes when I watch a movie. But if you don't want to be spoiled, then you might want to watch this in the replay after you've seen Halloween Kills, which is, you can watch it in theaters. You can also watch it on Peacock and things like that, and other means, however you may find a way to do it. So we're doing it. And I'm your host here. I'm kind of dealing with a different interface. So the thing is, y'all, I am simultaneously on YouTube right now, and I'm thinking on my newly launched Twitch channel. For those of you who are checking out, who are on Twitch and you like to, I'm still going to be doing the same stuff pretty much, but on the Twitch channel, I'll also, in addition to the things here on YouTube, I also want to be doing some horror gameplay and some genre gameplay. So if you're into that, check that out in the next couple of weeks. I'll be starting that over there. But thank you all who are joining us. It's going to be a great discussion. If you've seen my Halloween Kills trailer reaction, which you can find on my YouTube page, on the YouTube channel, I've got thoughts and feelings about Michael Myers in some ways that ruffles some feathers because of how they've done the franchise, or redone the franchise in different ways depending on which movie you're watching. So we're going to talk about that as well. We got Toddy up in here.
Hey, we got comments.
Yeah. From
Toddy.
Yeah. Who else do we have? We got Mark's Monster up in here. You can see the name on the screen, right, Michael?
Oh yeah, we got great. Mark saying hello to you.
Great, because like I said, y'all, I'm working with a little bit of a different. I'm doing Melon, Streamlabs Melon, so I'm like, this is kind of doing different updates and things like that. So, but don't worry, I see y'all in the chat. Thank you for joining us in the live stream, and let's get into it. So overall, let's talk about. I want to go through a few things. I want to talk about overall grade, what worked, what didn't work. Let's talk about the franchise of Michael Myers, because I've got thoughts about that. I'm sure you've got thoughts, Michael. And then we're going to talk about the best kill, the kills in general, who Michael Myers is overall, and where are we going from here? Because as many of you, or maybe you don't know, sometimes people watch things, they don't necessarily always want to watch the news of the things, but we do know, or it's been confirmed, that we are getting Halloween Ends, this was set up to be a trilogy. And so we had the Halloween 2018, we had Halloween Kills, which was this one, and then we're supposed to get Halloween Ends. So, we got to talk about some of the things that go on. And yes, Toddy fan, we're going to be talking about the themes of what are some of the things that ran through, particularly Halloween Kills. I feel like in this one, they were trying to say something a little bit deeper than usual. Whether or not that worked when it came to some of the stuff that they were showing. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining us in the live stream. Always a pleasure. We also Mark's Monster is saying this movie had a lot of callbacks to other movies in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely did. And so you know,
oh yeah,
and in good ways, and in some ways a little bit repetitive ways, I think. And we'll talk about that. So first and foremost, let me know in the live chat, y'all, and also in the replay what your grade would be. If you had to give this a grade, what grade would it be and why? And Michael, let's start with you. What grade would you give Halloween Kills?
I'd give Halloween Kills a B because it felt like a B movie with a budget that and the respect to like other 80s movies or late 70s movies that has sequels in the 80s, you had a really good first chapter of what they were trying to do, and then the second chapter just became kind of campy and fun, and it really didn't have what made the first Halloween great. It kind of felt a little loopy, not like on a straight to video or DVD or Blu-ray release, but it it was very campy. It was campier than the first one, to say the least. So that's why I give it a B.
Okay, so you would give it a B. And we have some people in the chat who are agreeing with you on that. Josh is saying I would give it a B as well. Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I would probably give this my honest opinion is B minus C plus.
I get that.
Like it's very much for me was on the in terms of it was very much on the borderline for me. I'm gonna be honest. I like the 2018 version better than this one. I want to know what y'all think. Did you like this one better than the 2018 one, or did you like the 2018 one better than this one? Because for me, I actually enjoyed the 2018 one better. And for a number of reasons, I thought there was a better buildup. I get it. You know, this is the thing about trilogies. When you have a trilogy, and in most trilogies, whether it's Star Wars, whether it's a horror franchise, a lot of time, if you know it's going to be a trilogy, the middle movie tends to be the kind of placeholder, sort of setting the stage for other stuff. It's rare that you get a second, the middle movie kind of outshining the first one or the third one. And so I kind of went in kind of knowing that in a way, but I wasn't expecting it to feel as mid-tier as it did.
Yeah, and I know as a bridge movie, like I'm not rating it on the fact that it was a connector. I forgot to mention that.
Are you saying you pretty much graded it on like it being its own film, or
its own film?
Would you have made it higher if you do you think of it as higher, thinking of it as a mid-tier film?
I would still give it a B, just as its own film, because number one was just great, and it still holds up. Like I think it's a modern, like as far as a remake goes, it's one of the best, or reboots. Or decanonizer movies that got rid of other movies in the past. Like I thought it was very well done since like 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a pretty solid one as well. You know, I guess for me it was because of the fact that, you know, I was kind of going in knowing that it was going to be a middle film. I didn't realize just how middle it was going to be. This one very much emphasized the kills. That was, I mean, they talk about the proper name for a movie. This definitely emphasized kills. This was all about the kills. The kills took center stage. If you wanted some kind of progression of plot necessarily, you didn't really get that until the last moments of the movie, to be honest. And so you really had to go in there. There were no big revelations, you know, and that's also a little rare, because in the Halloween franchise, you do usually get revelations. The two main revelations were Laurie's daughter died, and we'll talk about whether or not that was a good choice or not. And a decision was made. A decision was made, in my opinion, about who Michael Myers is. And if y'all have seen some of my trailer reactions for this franchise before, you know, one of my biggest issues with it is that I think they've gone back and forth about his or about what he is. And I know, and we'll talk about that because Michael and I have somewhat different opinions about, and y'all probably have different opinions when it comes to the entity that is Michael Myers. But I felt like this movie really did make a decision that he is evil and he is supernatural. And I appreciated that. You know, I appreciated that that's what they chose to do. Let's see what some of y'all are saying. Mark Monster saying, if I had to grade this movie, I would also give it a B. It had ramped up kills, but the comedy got in the way of it being a true slasher. Yeah, definitely. I don't even know. I mean, the thing was, I thought things were funny that I don't think I was supposed to find funny.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to talk about that. We'll talk about some of those specifics. My mama is joining y'all. Hey, Karen Robinson. She says hi. I don't know if she watched Halloween Kills, though. My mom doesn't tend to watch the horror movies unless I make her. So I'm not sure she actually watched this one. Toddy fan. Let's see what Toddy's saying. Toddy's saying, let's be honest, Halloween 1978, while it's a great, doesn't exactly have the most sophisticated plot. But you know, I don't know if it necessarily had to have a sophisticated plot, right? I think it was, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, it had base fear in it, and I thought that was fine enough. You know, Mark Monsters is saying my favorite is H2O. Okay, for sure. Mark is also saying, "Oh, come on, Big John and Little John were awesome. They were my standouts. Actually, yeah. They were definitely the standouts.
I don't hate the movie. I love them.
Yeah. Okay, so you know, like I said, it was definitely about the kills in this one. There were two big revelations, but towards the end, and you were kind of sitting there until you got it. So overall, it was a good slasher movie, but in the sense of you had to have already watched it. I wouldn't have this by itself. You had to have watched 2018 to even appreciate the stuff, except if you were just watching it for the kills. You had to have watched 2018 to appreciate anything that was going on in the movie itself. So there was that, and which is fine. It's fine.
It's my favorite movie with the word kills in it since Machete Kills.
Oh, with
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the plot or lack thereof. Okay, so
there was a plot.
Okay, so what do we get with this plot? We got
evil dies tonight.
Oh my gosh, talk about something being said so much to the point where you are like, why? Like it just, I mean, does it die tonight? And you almost kind of want to do a freeze frame and be like, evil indeed did not die tonight. It actually lived again, right? And so what we got, as Josh is pointing out in the live stream, the plot was lacking for sure. It definitely, it was a lacking plot for sure. But it was just mainly a continuation. It did have a callback to the original sequel, the sequel that we were supposed to forget. Where it happened on the same night, where Laurie gets transported to the hospital. I feel like it was the same hospital too, which is pretty cool. Laurie gets transferred to the hospital. Michael Myers follows her there. But what they did, they kind of flipped it on its side, where Michael Myers was not interested in following Laurie to the hospital at all. That wasn't what he was trying to do. He was basically about killing the town. And, you know, that's also something that I also want to talk about is the decentralizing of the Laurie Michael Myers relationship. I did not care for that. I didn't understand why they had to retcon it in the first one. And let me know what y'all think. But I didn't care for the fact that they made it so that, Lori wasn't his sister that got adopted. I actually thought that added to the plot, and I'm not really understanding why they switched it. I feel like maybe because they wanted to make him larger than life, and they didn't want to make it so his only intention was just to kill his sister. But I felt like they could have done that in connection to his connection to Lori, of them being two sides of the same coin.
But doesn't that make it creepier and more horrific as to why am I your target? Why are you coming after me? It kind of adds a little bit more fear with if there's no motive, it's even creepier.
I guess. But then you have to wonder, why does he always come home? What's his connection to the town then?
Maybe
why
in
the
his
town?
mind,
Why doesn't he go to New York? Why doesn't he go to Florida? Why doesn't he go to different places to kill people?
because we know
that Jason, Crystal Lake. The only time he went out 2 times was, or 3 times actually. The only 3 times he went out was Jason Goes to Space because he just happened to be there. New York because he just happened to be a stowaway. And even then he was only concentrated for whatever reason on the people who were from Crystal Lake. And the third one, when he got put into a different heart and he kept bouncing around in different bodies.
He went to hell.
Okay, but that was part of him bouncing around in different bodies. He wasn't killing people in hell. Oh, and when Jason versus Freddy, but once again, it was because Freddy put him up to it. His usual intent when he's on his own is to just basically be in Crystal Lake. When you take away Michael Myers, the situation, if you're saying that he's just evil, he just wants to kill people, why always stay in the same town? Why always want to go back there and just stay on the same streets and kill people if it's not the connection to Lori and his family?
I'm guessing. Call me Dr. Loomis here, because I'm crazy. But I'm guessing that when Michael originally killed people for the first time, he was a child. And he was emotionally stunted and mentally stunted. So he, in his mind, a 6-year-old child doesn't know much outside of their community. So I'm thinking the whole time watching this movie that the main reason he is returning because Haddonfield, Illinois is the only thing he knows. And that house is the only thing that he knows. And he's wandering outside of the house killing people in Halloween Kills.
And then going back home.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just makes it seem even more silly.
But it's simple, and it adds to the horrific effect that he's got the mind of a mass murdering kindergartner, first grader.
It almost makes him sound like Jason. Jason just kills people at Crystal Lake because he died there.
I mean, if we didn't have Michael, we wouldn't have Jason.
I don't know about, okay, yeah, one
chronologically,
but it's chronologically, but doesn't mean that the only thing they had in common was they were mass killers. Honestly, yeah. Jason wasn't even the killer in the first one.
No, he wasn't. His mom was. Spoiler alert.
Was.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can say. I mean, they ended up becoming very similar as it went on. 2 mass killers killing people who can't seem to die, but the franchises both started very differently. Jen joining us in the chat saying, I like them being related for juxtaposition of good versus evil. Exactly. I like that as well. And I feel like when you decentralize the fact of them coming from the same family, you kind of mess that up,
But if Jamie is the exact opposite, the good of that, and Mike is the evil version of that, then wouldn't Laurie be doing the equivalent of good that Mike is doing the equivalent of evil? Yeah. And we don't see that.
You're saying we don't see that, or
no? Yeah, she's not doing charitable works. She's not it would be the equivalent of the evil that Michael Myers is doing would probably be carried out through the goodness of Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode. But I do get that, making them brother and sister. I did like that a little bit, but I get why they didn't do it in this one.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think they didn't do it?
Oh, I could be dead wrong, but I think it's it's more sinister and more evil if you don't know why someone's coming after you versus somebody has a motive.
But what do you mean coming after you? Because technically, and I think this Halloween Kills really emphasized that he wasn't really concerned with Lori.
No, he wasn't. He wanted
it's
to kill
Lori
everyone
that
else
seems more concerned with him.
With him, yeah.
Isn't that a little weird?
Yeah, maybe he wanted to hurt. I don't know. Wow, that's okay. You stumped me on that one. How am I gonna pull this one out of thin air? Yeah, no, you're probably right.
Toddy Fan is saying Michael is the hero victim of this movie. He just wants to go home and live in peace. He kills some house invaders and fights off an angry mob.
He's basically Rambo in Rambo 4.
I don't know. I think that's a bit. That's a
He
stretch.
Didn't draw first blood. He totally did. He totally did.
He totally drew first blood. Jen is also, and Jen is saying, in her opinion, the killings were unimpressive.
Ooh,
that's a see to me. I felt like the killings were the highlight of this movie. Simply
Jen with the hot takes.
Yeah, simply because I mean, geez, I mean, what else was there besides the kills? If the kills wasn't impressive, then it's kind of like this movie was really on the pointless take. Yeah. So what we have is, but yeah, my thing with Lori is that I would have preferred they stayed related. Maybe just because it would have to me made it more so relevant. I mean, I did see, the thing is I was okay, but it was things because I was okay with it in 2018 when they made it so they wasn't related, because the way they explained it was Lori went through trauma, and because he had inflicted so much trauma on Lori, that was their connection, this trauma that they had. It made sense to me that she would be kind of obsessed with him. But then in this one, it was like they emphasized it even more that he wasn't concerned with her. And it was just like, okay, so what's the battle here? I mean, if Halloween Ends is hopefully this consummate battle, if they don't try to do something smart or witty and try to turn it on its head, then I mean, if he's not concerned with her and she's only concerned with him, it seems like a one-sided relationship. You know what I mean? So I'm a little
yeah, she's in the hospital bed like the entire time, and he's going around just continue killing. But what if it plays into what Laurie said, is that the more Jason kills, more powerful he becomes, and maybe he's doing that to charge up to kill Laurie in Halloween Ends. What if he's just charging up for the final confrontation in Halloween Ends?
Maybe, because if what Lori said was true, that he gets stronger like Highlander for some reason, deep cut.
There can be only one.
There can only be one. That he somehow gets stronger when he kills people, which I don't know where that came from and how she gleaned that. But then maybe that is it. But all that to fight a mortal woman?
Well, I mean, then again, is she mortal? What if there's a twist and Halloween Ends? Because she rolled off a roof, a woman or an individual her age, rolls off of a roof in the first one and then can disappear in a flash. The same way that Michael disappeared in a flash after the first one. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not coming up with fake conspiracy theories, but anything is plausible after Halloween Kills.
Yeah. My mom is saying he won't see her coming since he's not concerned with her. That's very true. That is a big part of that. So I think Lori does have the upper hand to a certain degree, but then you have to wonder what is Michael Myers' end game in all of this. I mean, Jason just wanted to kill everybody at Crystal Lake. That was his thing. He wants to kill everyone in Crystal Lake and then go sit in the woods in his shed. I guess with Michael Myers, he wants to kill everyone and hang out in his house.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. You're okay.
Which is oddly enough an actor by the name of Michael. So, Little John.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So there was another Michael occupying his house, technically.
Yeah, and Toddy is asking the question, but seriously, are we supposed to sympathize a bit with Michael in this one? I don't know. I don't see, this is the thing. And let's move on and to talk about it. What worked in this. Like to me, the plot was like there were some symbolism of angry mobs. And that is very relevant to today. For a number of reasons, right? When angry mobs are a thing. And
yeah, because there was an angry mob earlier this year who wanted another Michael to die. So I
yeah,
mean, it was on the nose. And what I got from this movie is that, can we talk about that yet? Or are we doing
go
that
ahead,
later?
yeah.
What I loved about this movie, if there's one thing I loved, it was the fact that this movie pointed out that there is potential for stupidity in large groups. And it was an anti-groupthink movie.
Okay.
When everybody has good intentions to end something, it goes horrifically bad.
Yeah, it definitely had some symbolism of what can happen when fear gets a hold of people. And the
Yeah.
question is, did it do it well? I thought there was some moments where, yes, I think it did do it well. In some moments when it came to the fact that they went after a guy who wasn't evil, who wasn't even the guy they wanted to go after, right? I got so frenzied that they went after this guy. And it was actually a quite sad moment when the other patient who had just happened to, get out and was still walking around that night ends up having to kill himself because he doesn't want to get overtaken by the mob. I thought that was probably the saddest part in the movie for me because I was just like, wow, that's really screwed up. And I was sad about that. But it also drove home what can happen when an evil mob. But this is the thing I felt, and I question this, and I want to know what y'all think too. Was it misplaced? It was like, I mean, this mob had every right to be angry, and it was weird that it got turned into some kind of symbolic, this is what happens when angry mobs get a hold of things. They had every right to want to go after Michael Myers, though. I could understand it if it was like a situation where an angry mob came by and they thought someone else, and it was, they never believed it was Michael Myers. They always thought it was someone else. Then it kind of, the symbolism would have made sense to me. Like maybe they thought it was Laurie killing everybody, so they want to kill Laurie. And it's like, whoa, you guys got it all wrong. But it was like they did want to kill Michael Myers, and rightly so, though.
But the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and they had good intentions to do what they were doing, but they went about it in really horrible ways, bringing out their own stupidity and inflicting pain on themselves. Like, that's what I got from this.
Hey, Blake, I lucked into the live stream on my lunch break. Well, happy lunch break, and thanks for joining. And let me know what you thought about Halloween Kills. Always a pleasure, Blake. Jen is saying Michael Myers making fear mobsters. Yes. I just thought it was a little misplaced. I just was kind of like, did we need that? I got it, but I didn't get it. Because I was like, well, is that the real evil he did? He turned everyone into him in a way, kind of really spreading, kind of being an agent of chaos. And in that way, it did become more sinister because he became an agent of chaos. But at the same time, I was like, but it's justified that they want to kill this guy. If anything, I thought this should have been a triumphant moment, them catching him. And, this is the thing. Let's talk about some of the stuff that didn't work. Is that you had this whole town against him, but because I feel like it was a little bit of a contrived frenzy, everyone kept making stupid decisions. Yeah, everyone. You had a town of like 50 to maybe 200 or 300 people, and not one of these people could pull him apart. They all decided to stab him. Why not cut him into pieces and bury parts of his body somewhere? It was just like that whole scene where they're in the car and the husband and wife duo, the doctor and the nurse, and a callback to the nurse from the original sequel and everything was there and all that. And it was like, wait a minute. Like, hold up. you mean to tell? So she's shooting everywhere. She shoots the windows out. It just gets real ridiculous. And it was like, why is every person? And then when they had him in the circle in the end, every person went after him one at a time. I didn't understand that. That's like cheap action movie thing. You know, when like the hero is being surrounded by a whole bunch of ninjas or something like that, and for whatever reason they all go at him at one at a time.
It's like the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Brad Pitt is fighting off the Manson family.
Yeah, and they're all going at him one at a time. Well, that made sense. I thought it made sense because they were all distracted or whatnot like that. But it's like, I'm talking about like them in, you see those fight scenes in action movies where people are standing there and there's like a group of people all come and they all wait. Like there's 10 of them and our hero. And then for whatever reason, they could jump him, but they all just decide to go at him one-on-one so he has a chance to fight. And I'm just like, why did they all go at him one-on-one? Like, it was just, I felt like, and let me know, y'all, I just felt like every single town member kept making the dumbest decisions on, like, I don't mind in a horror movie when people do stupid things in some aspects of the horror movies, because that's what if people don't make stupid decisions, you don't have a horror movie, right? If no one goes down that dark alley, you don't get the killer. And if someone doesn't choose to open up the dangerous spell book, you don't get the evil witch. I get it. But when everybody's acting like that, everybody acted like that. And I was just everybody making bad decisions. Like even Laurie's daughter, who was super smart, although she was reluctant in 2018, she came into her own. And it kind of made it feel like they made her regress. Like I can understand Laurie's granddaughter being the way she was because she wasn't trained and she was just going by her emotions. She was a bit obnoxious this movie because she all of a sudden thought she was a badass and she hardly did anything. And we're going to go out. I get it though. Her dad was killed. She's ripe with emotions. Yeah. But Laurie's daughter was making stupid decisions. She was letting her guard down, all types of. I'm like, Lori didn't teach you any of this. And it kind of felt like they made her make those decisions so she get killed. And I just was like, why? It's a bit contrived to keep this all going. Did you feel that way at all? Because I felt like it was a bit contrived. You got the whole town against him and not everyone can beat him.
Yeah, it was almost like, okay, we have this neighbor. What can we do to make them dumb? And Jen McMahon, to quote Thanos, you should have went for the head.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like, who's gonna cut off his head? In H2O, Lori did that. The H2O we're all supposed to forget. One of my faves of the franchise, when Jamie Lee Curtis comes back the first time, she cuts off his head. Now they retconned it and made it so she was crazy and he had just switched masks with some rando ambulance driver, but she cut off his head. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to cut off his head. Everyone's just stabbing this guy. And I'm like, what?
I mean, to be fair, their first bad decision was all spending Halloween at an open mic night. Like that. As somebody who hosts open mics, but that brought me into this movie. And then it was like, oh, the dumbest people in the world are all here in one roof. And they're just going to go out one by one and just like make bad decisions and die. Like I was already amped up for that.
Blake is saying, I stopped watching halfway through, but Ricky Schroeder leading an angry white man militia was unsettling.
It was Illinois. It's Illinois. You're going to get that.
And this is the thing. I got that. I totally got the symbolism of that. The whole thing of angry militias and how they do more harm than good. And, there was also something unsettling with the white men telling the black sheriff, this is our town, and how uncomfortable he looked at that moment. I don't think that was coincidental. I think they played on that, the fact that he was the black sheriff and they weren't listening to him anymore, as though the social construct was simply, we gave you this power and we went along with you, but now step aside.
It almost makes me wonder, does Haddonfield, Illinois border Kentucky?
Yeah. Well, I think it can be any small town, though, because that was the thing about the first one, right? John Carpenter's first Halloween, it dealt with the destruction of the so-called false sense of security in suburbia, right? There was a whole thing of white flight back in the day when suburbs came about, it was spawned through white flight, where white people were leaving the cities for the safer neighborhoods of the suburbs. And you had some horror movies that really played on, like I said, yes, Halloween has a very basic plot, but overall what it plays into is playing against the false sense of security that white America sometimes tends to think it has in like suburban towns and things like that. Pato's making an appearance on our stream. Pato.
Bev has been on my lap. Hey, Pato.
Bev's our second cat, y'all. We got 3 of them here. Yes. Yeah. Of white suburbia and whatnot. And I felt like that's why Halloween is so creepy, because you had this killer who didn't really have any real motivation except just to cause terror, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was unsettling. And so I totally understood. It was kind of a full circle moment of the terror taking hold of this town and them wanting to go after and get retribution. But I also thought it was kind of like, but why make them such almost a villain in their own right? Do you think that distracted from the plot at all?
No, I think it added to it.
Okay.
That, there's more than just the evil of Michael Myers. There's also the evil of good intentions. There's evil of groupthink. And there's evil that fear can bring out of you. Because, when you're going through something traumatic, that half of that can be unchecked. Mm-hmm. And then you could look back and say, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah. Tati fan is saying, I prefer the term anti-democratic to anti-groupthink. Yeah, because groupthink can be positive sometimes if everyone's coming together for a great goal. But if everyone's coming together for something that is, fascist tinged or supremacist tinged, then yes, it can turn into a whole thing. So yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point right there. I got it. But I just thought it was half realized, the whole mob mentality. Of course, we saw the relevance because of what we've been through what we're going through in the last year and a half to 2 years. Oh my God, this is some time here that we've been going through this stuff. So it was relevant, but I was like, it felt a little bit like a sore thumb in a Halloween movie, in a Michael Myers movie. And you know me, y'all, if y'all have watched my streams before, I love deeper stuff in movies. That's my jam. Especially, John Carpenter is my boy for stuff like that. I just felt like it could have been handled a little bit better in this movie. So I didn't really feel like that worked. And the other thing that didn't work for me was the fact that they really are decentralizing Laurie's connection to him. Yeah. So would you say those are your 2 things that didn't work? What would you say, Michael, is like, if you had to pick one thing that didn't work for you in this movie, what would it be? And let me know, y'all, in the chat and also in the replay.
It was how relentlessly dumb the town folks were in the face of fear, which I kind of get, but it bordered on cartoonish. And that would have been okay if it wasn't for the fact that the first Halloween movie in this trilogy was so good. And that, the anti-democratic, anti-groupthink, not so much. If that's a plot, they carried it out well. Yeah, I would just say the stupidity of the townsfolk and the fact that it wasn't entirely clear, is Michael Myers recharging to go after Laurie, or is he a mindless killer at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that was a thing for me. I'm a little bit opposite though on the mindless killer thing. I don't think he's mindless killer. The segue into what actually worked in this film for me, 2 things: the kills. I know some people are like, the kills were unimpressive. The kills both worked for me and worked too well for me. Mm-hmm, for me, with the kills, I thought they were good because, that was kind of the main thing. So many people died in this film. But they also were a bit overdrawn, like when he kills the older couple, and maybe it's just I'm uncomfortable when Black women die on screen, but when he kills the older couple and he stabs her in the neck, and she's still bleeding out. And not only she's still bleeding out watching him, he goes back to get her husband, who is still semi-alive, and starts like stabbing him repeatedly as if he's trying out the knives.
Oh, that was the best part.
And
that was one of the best.
I was uncomfortable by that because I was like, like I said, the kills were because they were so effective, but I never thought that Michael Myers got pleasure from his kills. And we could talk about whether or not people agree with that or not.
Yeah.
But I felt like, and this was a theme throughout the whole movie, where he was actually seemed to really be enjoying, like a kid, like after he killed people, like placing them in certain things and spinning and the whole carousel. Like he seemed to kind of get off on killing them and then setting them up in ways. And that was something that, you know, is different to me. I mean, like I said, I know y'all, I keep comparing a little bit to Jason versus Michael Myers because of the fact that I have wanted them to make a little bit of a difference. That definitely came as a difference to me because Jason kills people. You're in my woods. What are you here? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to move on. But I feel like, Michael Myers made the decision to start kind of posing these people like this is his artwork. What did you think of that? Because to me, that made it even more creepy. But I was like, whoa, that's different.
When I say the mindless killing, like that went to the townspeople and their own bad judgment. But one thing I did like is I enjoyed that. And now thank you for bringing that up because it reestablished the fact that the human portion of Michael Myers that isn't evil incarnate is at the end of the day mentally 6 years old. So he's trying out new things. He's playing new toys. And I looked at it as the victims aren't art, they're more toys. And he's kind of setting them up.
So you think he's kind of like basically an evil kid kind of enjoying that?
In a man's body, yeah.
Okay.
Because he had fun.
Trant is joining us. What's up, Trant? Trant saying, what's the point of Laurie if there really isn't a connection between? That's what we were just talking about. That was one of the things that I didn't feel worked for me with this. I didn't understand what the point of them continuously decentralizing Laurie's importance to him. That definitely was something where I was just like, I don't know how this works. How is she his nemesis if, Jen is saying, to speak to what we were talking about, or does his kills bring him sexual arousal? Deeper question than I thought I'd ask.
More like
question though.
Halloween thrills. Right?
I wrote it down in my notes though. I was like, is he getting some form of pleasure from this? Because he seemed to really be which was different. And he seemed more aggressive in this one too. Like even when he was killing the firefighters, once again, they did the whole all of them going at him at once thing. I was like, oh my gosh, you all have tools, jump this guy. But he seemed to he was a bit more aggressive in this one. When he killed people, when he was going after them, there was a lot more animation to him. It was a lot more animated, which I thought was also different. Do you think that was a good addition to this? Because up to this point, he had been kind of the shape, the silent figure who just kind of kills people and moves on in the town. But now it seems like he has some joy from this, and he's playing a bit of a game with people.
Yeah, because he's growing. The more he kills, the more powerful he becomes. So he's probably not stoic anymore. I read this comment somewhere, but they were like Michael John Wick Myers. How he's just able to kill everyone with anything and just annihilate the town.
John Wick.
Yeah, one of my friends on Facebook called him Michael John Wick Myers. But I think it worked if you hear the Laurie line, he grows with every kill.
Well, that's what we were saying, right? Like, is he Highlander now? For y'all who don't know Highlander, oh my gosh. But if you don't know Highlander, I might just show my age. He basically is this dude who lives forever since ancient times. And the way he kills people, he kills another Highlander. He cuts their head off. And every time like the electricity happens or whatever, depending on if you're watching the show or the movies, and he gets stronger for it. And when Laurie said that, I'm like, where did she get that from? Blake is saying they were dead, but he still took time to dress them up in different masks and position them.
There was one kill that I think we were talking about. I have no idea how it happened, but I think they carried it. There can be only one.
Yes, Bannon.
There was a kill that I think we both turned to each other and we were like, really? Like, we kind of have to suspend our disbelief, which is, I think, something that people watching movies nowadays forget, that you do have to suspend your disbelief. Like, there was one shot where I think somebody brought it up in the comments where, like, they hollowed out their head and put lights in it like a jack-o'-lantern.
That was 2018.
That was 2018, but
yeah,
did they
that
show
was with the cops, but they went back to it, and you were definitely like, when would he have gotten the time to make this dude's head a jacket?
The hollow, it's like it's gonna take a lot to hollow out this big pumpkin, but like, how is he gonna do that? Nobody's like, wait a second, what is that guy doing in that cop car hollowing out heads?
yeah.
Time,
and that was the thing too in 2018, and even in this one a little bit, where time is a little bit skewed, because you're like, oh, how long did he have to do all of this stuff? How much time has passed of him to be able to position people and take the time and then move on to the next place? And like you said, suspension of disbelief, but also kind of like, okay, really? But that it was kind of like, yes, the kills are great, but it doesn't really fit in the universe building necessarily until the end. And this has been my big issue with Michael Myers, right? I was like, you got him doing things and you're not, establishing how he's able to do it. What are the rules? And when I talk about the rules for any horror movie, my thing about rules is this. I want to know the rules of a story because I want to know how and who I should root for it if they have a chance. Because if you have a killer who can't be killed no matter what, you don't really know what you're rooting for at this point. Like, am I rooting for him to just get cut apart and put in pieces? Am I rooting for the deaths to be quick? If you don't know the rules, like with Jason, you know the rules. With Chucky, you know the rules. He's stuck in his body. You can kill him in his body. Somehow he still comes back. But, of course, they always still come back. Freddy and all of that. And my issue with Michael Myers throughout the original run of the franchise is I felt they went back and forth about the rules. So you didn't know, okay, he got stabbed. And this time I think, and this is what the other thing that worked for me, they made a decision. I think this was a very overt decision that Michael Myers is now overtly supernatural. He is not human.
But he's always been evil incarnate. Going back to, Jen McMahon, like Gremlin, we know the rules for that. But we kind of don't. And I know we've been going back and forth about this. Like, I always thought, because Dr. Loomis brought it up, that even though he does have a human form, he is evil incarnate. And he's kind of allowed to do what he wants, which is almost like the cheap way of saying, I'm a superhero and I have the powers to have all the powers in the world.
Right? And doesn't that seem, it's kind of, you've been like, every time something happens, like, oh no, it's like when you're playing a game on the playground, right? And someone's like, oh, I shot you. But it's like, oh no, I now developed armor and you can't shoot me. Wouldn't you be mad at that kid? I don't know if I know growing up, I was always mad at the kid who had a new trick up his sleeve every time we were playing a game where it was like, wait a minute, that's not how the rule goes. You can't do that.
No, so I always thought he was evil incarnate in the very beginning.
Okay.
And I always thought he was supernatural, because how else could he disappear and reappear like that? But then again, Laurie Strode did that in the 2018 Halloween reboot or continuation. So maybe I got too big of an idea during that subtle disappearance. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, she looks out the window because he rolls off the roof and he should be on the ground, but then it's like, where'd he go?
Yeah. Okay, so your thing is you think he's always been supernatural.
Yeah, always.
I don't think that was the case. I got to disagree. I don't think he was always supernatural. Just like Jason was not always supernatural.
Oh, no, Jason was a child at one
I don't think Michael Myers was always supernatural. I think that's something that was more overt. I think it was overt for this one, and I think it was used in the other ones to bring him back or make it so that, I mean, look, he got stabbed in the eye in one of them and he had a scar. He had that scar in this one in 2018, the scar in his eye. He lost his fingers and his fingers are still bleeding, right? So it's like he's human, but he's not. He can't die, which is what it's kind of like, even though, I mean, speaking on it now, it's like, even though they created the rules, I still feel like it's not completely clear.
It's almost like Michael Myers in human form is being used as a vessel for evil.
Mm-hmm. Trent is saying something about Michael Kills this movie seemed off. In all the other movies, he was so calm and straight to the point. They made him like a Leatherface type. Exactly. There was a lot more aggression there.
Yeah.
And so, Michael, you mentioned Tati Fan is saying Michael Myers equals incel.
Right, for real.
That's funny. You guys are funny.
Somebody's bringing up the real point of this movie. Good job.
He's been an incel this whole time.
Oh my God, yeah.
So, Michael, you said that you think that he's a vessel of evil for someone, but who?
I mean, the devil. I don't know 100%, but I mean, I've been playing like horror video games lately that have kind of used like the same concept, and maybe evil found a way into this 6-year-old boy who was birthed, who killed his sister in the very first Halloween, but he had evil in him, almost like Damian Omen. Like, he wasn't the son of the devil, but he was evil incarnate.
Okay. Solomon, thanks for joining us in the chat, Solomon. Solomon saying, hi, I'm curious. Has Michael always been a supernatural being? I've only seen the 1978 and 2018 films, and the fact that Michael didn't die after getting hit with a bag of bricks threw me off.
Right?
Right? Like, wait a minute, how's this guy still? And that's the debate. And that, Solomon, actually, has been a lot of the times my issue with the franchise, because they haven't been very overt about it. And I get it. You know, I said this before. I said it in my trailer reaction for Halloween Kills, and people come in there because I get it. You know, y'all people are fans. And so they're like, he's the shape. He's evil. That's what it is. That's just and to me, I say, I'm like, that's circular definition. You can't, no, circular definition doesn't work. I ask, is this dude supernatural? You can't tell me he's evil. That what?
There's a difference between
that explains nothing.
Like,
he's the shape. They always throw at me, he's the shape. What does that mean? I'm asking you, can this guy die?
Yeah, it'll be
do
like,
y'all know?
It'd be like, Saddam Hussein, evil dude, but he's not, supernatural. And I mean, he did meet a demise, but it's kind of like, as far as a body count goes, I think he was used as a vessel for evil incarnate.
Evil incarnate. Okay.
Yeah, and when evil.
But why just that town then? If he's evil incarnate, why didn't they make him go outside of the town? Why stay there? President? Oh, geez. But you know what I mean. Why just that town? Wouldn't he have bigger plans?
Maybe the human side to him was drawn to it. And, even though you're human, maybe if you have the evil flowing through you, maybe the evil which is inside of you can supernaturally repair yourself and make you invulnerable, invincible to kind of, man-made attacks.
Okay. Like kind of going off of LSD, when people are on LSD, like they can punch through walls.
Yeah, he's basically Tony Montana at the end of Scarface, all on coke, but he can get shot relentlessly until, spoiler alert, but not like, he's not cocaine evil. He's I'm thinking more supernatural evil.
Okay.
He's not capitalism evil.
Tati Fan is saying he's always been supernatural. They just lean into it more in some movies.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like you got to make a decision, because once again, that's like world building. Either because if you say, oh, he's not, but we can do that, but he is, but you can't do this. it can get very confusing. Solomon is saying, hi, I'm late to the conversation, so I don't know if it's discussed kills yet. I hated that so many innocent people were killed on screen, but every irritating bratty teen was killed off screen. I didn't like the fact that there was a lot of innocent people that died really brutally this one.
Yeah.
And maybe that was also messaging. I feel like usually in horror movies, there's a bit more of a balance where people kind of like teenagers who are doing things they shouldn't be doing kind of get it. And then occasionally an innocent person dies, but usually not as brutal or something. And I felt like this one really played up normal people just minding their own business getting killed. And I don't know. I wonder if that was also part of the intention to make us uncomfortable watching a horror movie where seemingly decent people are just being killed in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Do you think it was kind of this sort of Inception kind of why are you watching horror movies that do this to people kind of moment or something? Like kind of playing on that.
I kind of liked how ballsy it went for the kills. Not talking about the citizens who were engulfed by dumb fear who like ended their own way, but like the brutality of what he did to innocent people. I mean, I think it kind of plays in politically and also socially, like what is kind of currently going on. But I mean, I think if you add relentless kills, you add more to the scare factor.
Yeah. Trent is saying, if he's supposed to be supernatural, how does he age? Why does he bleed? Why does he get hurt and injured and beat down over and over again? They should really just pick one and stick to it. Trent, you and I are in the same camp, but I feel like people are okay with it. So hey, if people are willing to accept it, you know, I guess they're going to keep doing it this way.
I appreciate your logic, and you bring up great points.
You know, because Trent goes on, it makes the characters flip-floppy and unrealistic. I agree. I do agree, because I think it makes it so you don't know what to root for, what to hope for. When characters come up with ideas to kill somebody, you're like, okay, this is going to be it. This is going to do it. And it's like, but will it do it?
It was weird in this movie. I think what it might be is you had three-dimensional characters and then you had dumb two-dimensional characters. And they were like two-dimensional innocent characters.
Yeah.
Who maybe didn't think things all the way through. Who were like, because in the open mic chapter of the movie, in the very beginning of the movie, there were some like, it was almost cartoonish. The way, I mean, I know some of them were probably drunk, inebriated in some way, but yeah, I think the conflicting thing, the more we're talking about this, we're almost an hour in, the more like I hear you and I'm hearing all these, looking at all these great comments come in. Maybe the conflict really was you had smart three-dimensional characters in a world of two-dimensional dumb characters who were written cartoonishly. And maybe that's what it was, because the first Halloween movie wasn't cartoonish as much.
You think you think this kind of went kind of cartoonish?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you could also bring up that the bloggers or the YouTubers in the first Halloween movie, there were catalysts for a new viewership into it, but they were kind of hokey, but they were done away with. And in Halloween Kills, you got further away from the Strode family into a cartoonish world of these small town Haddonfield people. Which I want to shout out. I did not see a single palm tree in Haddonfield, Illinois this time. And that made me feel really good.
That wasn't filmed in California, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't filmed in California. So that was great to watch. Like, wow, real Midwestern type town.
Yeah. Nika R is asking us, hey, thanks for joining us. I haven't seen this new release. Waiting for Halloween night or not? What we rating? It's good.
Fun. I mean, I gave it a B.
I gave it a B - C+. So it's hard. If you don't think too deep about the Halloween franchise, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
we're diving deep into it, so that's why we're finding all these issues and things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the question I want to ask you, Michael, I want to ask all of you here as well, and if you haven't already, if you're on the YouTube, slash that like button. If you're on Twitch, do whatever they do on Twitch. I'm still learning that on there. But I guess my question is, Lori's daughter got killed. Okay, they killed her off. What did you think that was a good choice? Or do you think that was a mistake? I personally would have preferred the granddaughter to die, because I just thought she was making stupid enough mistakes to do that. But I see where they might be going with her, so I guess I kind of get it. But do you think they should have killed Lori's daughter off?
Personally, I love Judy Greer. She's Cheryl in a great cartoon.
Archer. I wanted her to stay on for the third one. Maybe it was my slight bias that I didn't
think
want
it
her
was.
to die.
Yeah, because anything Judy's in is just enjoyable, fun, and watchable, whether it's like heartfelt or like raunchy. She has a great range as an actress, and she was kind of like the middle person in the first one, who was kind of like the non-believer. And then, like, towards the end of this one, she gets killed. I think as far as the story goes, I think it's a really good catalyst for Laurie to do what she's going to do when she recovers from her wound in the hospital, to go out and kill. Because that's the ultimate, like, you took my daughter away, you're dead. Like, I'm going to make sure Halloween ends, like... I think as far as the device goes, it works really well. The granddaughter, here's the thing, got along really well. Really didn't see what was wrong with Laurie in like the Halloween movies. They were more relatable. And I'm kind of hoping for, in Halloween Ends, like a grandmother-granddaughter badass team-up duo. And they maybe they finally rip his head off. Who knows? But I think as far as a catalyst goes, to answer your question and not go about it like I'm a lawyer, I think it was a good plot device.
You think it was a good plot device? Yeah. See, now the way you explain it, I think it's kind of a good plot device, only in the sense of what you said about Laurie. But this is the other flip side of that, is that if Laurie doesn't need any more motivation to kill him.
She doesn't, though. Yeah.
Like we were just talking about earlier, she's got all the motivation in the world to want to have this guy knocked off. And they kind of decentralized her importance to Michael Myers, though. They decentralized it. So I'm like, does she need more fuel to her fire? Probably not. So why do that, But I get it. I also understand, though, that they needed a significant kill. And considering that I was a bit worried about Laurie in this one, I'm still worried about her for Halloween Ends. Yeah. But when they bring people back, they usually kill them off. They killed her off last time they brought her back. She came back, I think, in H2O, right? And then in the next one, they killed her off in the very beginning of that movie. I did not like that. It was like, like she survived, and that was the other thing that happened in this movie. You had so many people who were able to survive the trauma of Michael Myers, and they brought them back in this movie kind of only to kill them. And that kind of made me a little uncomfortable. I mean, and maybe that's just me when it comes to horror movies, that I think if someone survives it, you should let that character be in peace, unless you really have to kill them off. I've always, and this isn't just Michael Myers, so no one thinks I'm biased, I've always had issues with that. I had a real problem with Nightmare on Elm Street, when Dream Warriors, one of my fave of the franchise, when the people who survived beat him, and then in part 4, they killed off the survivors. I thought it was like, well, what was the point of that triumphant end in the third one if you just killed them off all in the fourth one? I didn't appreciate it. And I hate when they do that in horror movies.
You know what I also think this had to this Halloween, I think one of the issues is there's like a newer writing staff on this Halloween franchise, which is both really good. And then I'm thinking about who is on. Oh wait, we got a comment. Solomon Drew, killing Judy Greer was such an odd choice. understandable, but still odd. I wanted a 3-generational takedown of Michael. I agree with that. But I think the catalyst was needed, and I think if you kill off the granddaughter, it takes away from the new generation that they're always trying to push into from a marketing standpoint. I know,
do that.
I know it's dumb.
If that was the case, they wouldn't need to bring Nev Campbell back for Scream 5.
Exactly.
It's clearly relying on the younger generation ain't cutting it, that they need to be bringing back the old people. So I'm all for them.
Yeah, but what I was going with, sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of my favorite dark comedic actors, Danny McBride, is a writer for the Halloween franchise, and he's really brutal. And he has a love and a respect for the genre, and I think you can definitely feel, if you know Danny McBride from Tropic Thunder and Righteous Gemstones and Eastbound and Down, then you'd know that from a horror perspective, he'd be really cynical and really no holds barred. And I think maybe him, along with the writers group that is currently attached to this movie, I think there's 3 or 4 writers, along with Carpenter. Did Carpenter write this one, or did he just produce it?
No, I think he just produced it.
Yeah, and I think the new writer they brought their love of the original franchise, and they did an amazing job with Halloween Kills. That's why I'm a little confused. I mean, with Halloween, that's why I'm a little confused at the direction this went. The lack of the quality dipped a little bit of this movie, and I don't know how, but I think the grittiness of it is half Danny McBride.
Okay. Trent is saying that was so disrespectful to the 1978 movie, the killing of I believe Trent is saying that he's referring to the killing of the legacy characters. I agree. Yeah. I just thought these people made it out, and I think only one of them, and Lori, got to survive. And I think it was probably in her contract they couldn't kill her off. Is our girl from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, who was the original girl that Lori babysat. She was probably like, you can't kill me, I need to come back for the third one, or something like that. Toddy is actually making a very brave statement. It's not an accident that Michael kills gay men and so many Black characters. Well, this is the thing though. Whoa. The Black characters actually survived in the first one. This is what threw me off. In the 2018 one, I actually made a joke because I was like, if he kills her, and he did it. And there was another one, they didn't kill him. It was like they brought back all the Black characters that survived in the 2018 movie and killed them. And I was like, what? Wait a minute, they survived. The woman who got stabbed in the neck was the one that had brought those other people to the graveyard, the podcasters. They literally brought her back to kill her. I was like, wait a minute.
The one thing I thought that was odd was, and it was one of my most favorite kills. I wasn't sober when I watched this movie, but I laughed because of how unbelievably dumb this thing was. But it was when the nurse was just completely owning it. And she's like, I'm the only one here who knows how to shoot a gun, or I got a gun. And it's like, let me show you how to load it, baby. And then she was
the doctor, the Black doctor you're talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. The Black doctor, she was great in the movie because they did the costume reverse. She was dressed as a nurse, and so they swapped their careers, which was fun. I really enjoyed that couple, and I thought it had great potential. But oddly enough, the most unintentionally hilarious and unfortunate kill for me
was her.
When she's like, let me show you how to lock and load, and I do that, and then she's just shooting every direction. Michael Myers is only a dude, and then it's he's shooting every direction, and then the gun turns on herself, and she blows her face off, and I'm like, why? What? This is so dumb. It's what?
I mean, it was cool looking, right? But it was also not cool looking, but it was also wow. But it was also kind of wait a minute, all these capable, that's what we were talking about earlier, where it was all these capable people were making such stupid decisions, both collectively, and it just felt collectively and separately. And it felt to me after a bit it did feel a little contrived to keep this thing going with him. Which is why I was fine when they made the overt supernatural thing, because I'm like, that's the only way that this is gonna be explained, that he's been able to take on all these people all night long, because you have to make him overtly supernatural, or this doesn't make any sense at this point, in my opinion. But in terms of, you know, them killing the daughter, I get the point. I mean, I guess if I had to pick one of the three, I would have picked the granddaughter to go off. But, you know, they did what they did.
Yeah, if you killed the granddaughter, though, then Judy would have grown into her full thing.
Exactly, which would have been very cool. She would have been Lori, and they could have taken him on, but they didn't go that route because I don't know, younger people. Okay, so what we know is that there's supposed to be a Halloween Ends. This was a trilogy, y'all. And we're getting Halloween Ends, and we're supposed to be getting this 2022. And what we are hearing through the grapevine is, I'm just going to show a OG picture of Lori from the sequel that we are all supposed to forget, when she was in the hospital. And what we are being told is that people are going to get angry. That's what Jamie Lee Curtis is telling everyone, that we are going to probably be angry at that, which makes me worry that they're going to try to do something witty and smart. And I put that in quotes because sometimes when directors and creators try to be edgelords with stuff, they kind of miss the mark. And I'm worried that may be the case here, especially with how they choose to end. If Jamie Lee Curtis is saying that most people are going to be mad and uncomfortable. And so... But we do know there's supposed to be Halloween Ends. And we also know that this is not taking place in the same night. What it's going now, 2018 and Halloween Kills were all supposed to be taking place during Halloween 2018. That's when they're supposed to be taking place. Halloween Ends is supposed to be taking place in 2022. So there's a time jump of what? 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years. There's a time jump of 4 years here. What do you think that's going to look like? I don't really know how they're going to make this make sense, because at the last bit, he was there. So somehow either he slipped out and he's doing a worldwide country tour of killing people for the past 4 years, or he goes into hibernation for 4 years and he comes back to kill on Halloween for some reason. How do you think they're going to do this? How do you make it so that he gets to keep going?
I don't know, but if they throw in like the pandemic stuff, it's going to be called Halloween N95. But okay, enough bad COVID puns. But you know, I don't know, because if he kills, like, what has Laurie been doing for 4 years since Judy Greer died? And that's going to be really fascinating. Like, does he disappear? Does he start a social media website? What does he go around? What does he do? And because of I think Halloween Kills works a little bit because of how good Halloween was and the continuation of it. I don't know how this is going to do in a 4-year jump, other than she's going to probably train the granddaughter to, like, probably 4 years of she's not going to go to college. She's going to become Sarah Connor. And I don't know, like Halloween 2018 to 22. I like that. Jen McMahon, where does Michael go when it's not Halloween? Is he like the Gray Pumpkin? Well, he was locked up for 40 years apparently, according to Halloween, but I don't know where he's going to go for these 4
and that's
years.
What throws me off, because in most, even the ones that aren't canon anymore or whatever, he always gets thwarted in the end. Either because even in the one where when Jamie Lee Curtis came back the other time and she was killed off, she gets committed, he shows up, and then for whatever reason, I think he goes back to after he kills her, he goes back and starts killing again. So it all kind of happens within months at a time. It's never really, unless he's locked up, it's never really a thing where he's allowed to just be roaming for that long, right? And in this one, it seemed like he got away. he actually got away at the end of Halloween Kills, or at least he was standing in the thing and no one had killed him. So it's kind of like, is he gonna just be on the loose for 4 years?
And what does that fear for 4 years do to Haddonfield? Or Haddonfield? Like, what?
Well, the question is, are they going to keep it in just Haddonfield? Because it can't just be him popping up, killing people in Haddonfield, and going off on it. You're moving through the town kind of quickly in 4 years.
Yeah, man, he annihilated the town.
Unless the town becomes a ghost town and everyone moves away. I don't know.
That would be cool. You might be onto something with that. I love that ghost town idea.
Well, then it becomes Jason with Crystal Lake. No one goes to Crystal Lake until someone comes to Crystal Lake, and Michael Myers been waiting for them because he's awake now.
A couple drives in, their car breaks down. They need a phone because they don't have a cell phone. They forgot
and then
to
he's
charge
chasing those people.
Yeah,
and then Lori somehow shows up because she senses he's awake again. I'm just kind of, let me know, y'all, where do you think this is gonna go? Because they're doing a time jump from the 2018 to the present day. At least that's what we're hearing initially. And I don't know if that's the best thing. I get it. I get that they don't want to keep it all in the same night. I kind of understand that.
Yeah,
they can only do one night, but so long, I guess.
Yeah, and how long is that night? Like, you got to think, I guess, maybe like in Illinois, the sun goes down really relative. To like fit 2 movies in a span of 12 hours, like eventually it's going to be November 1st.
Yeah. Maybe that's Halloween Ends. And I felt like maybe that's the way it should have been, right? Like Halloween ends like at midnight or something. And it's like, oh, it's the end. And like, he dies. So I don't really know how they're going to do a thing where he got away and it's been 4 years and Lori never caught him. You know what I mean? Because what we also heard is that there was an extended scene that I think is going to be put on the DVD where Lori kind of senses that her daughter got killed. So she tries to call her daughter, and basically Michael Myers picks up the phone and he's just breathing. And that's when Lori knows that he killed her daughter, and she walks out of the hospital and she disappears into the crowd. That's what we were explained was the extended scene that we didn't see theatrically that will probably pop up on the DVD. So we know Lori finds out her daughter, she hears the call and she leaves out the hospital. And I just thought, well, they could have just kept it the same night then. But I guess it's like, are you really going to have another hour now? Well, this movie was darn near 2 hours. Are you really going to have another 2-hour movie? Like, how many more people can he kill at this point there?
Yeah. Like,
Jorge, thanks for joining us in the live chat, Jorge. Always a pleasure. Let's see what some of y'all are saying. What do you think about that, Michael? I just feel like I kind of don't want there to be a time jump because I feel like I don't know how it's not going to be super contrived.
To the point where it becomes the purge of Haddonfield.
Right.
And
every Halloween.
It's like evil didn't die tonight. I guess that was the irony of it. But evil dies in 4 years. Like that's what they'll do. And maybe I'll know if like because of the political messaging, maybe like the whole 4-year thing is an added nod to what's been happening. But I don't know why. I think either way I'll like it. But I don't know. Ooh, Nika R. I don't know why at some point I thought Laurie was supernatural too.
Maybe just a supernatural cursed family. But this is the thing. They made it so they're not related.
Yeah.
That would have made sense, Nika. That would have made sense.
Because she did roll off the roof and disappear at her age without anything going wrong. And, oh no, maybe adrenaline kicked in and that's why she was at the hospital. DVD, they still make them.
Yes, they do still make them.
They do.
We still own them too. Y'all need to get some physical copies of stuff. Don't be so reliant on streaming.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Josh is asking a question. Hey, Chauncey, are you gonna watch and review the CW's the new 4400 show? Wasn't there already a show 4400? Are they remaking that? That's weird. That's weird. Maybe I don't know. I gotta see it.
I remember selling those DVDs
of the 4400.
400, yeah.
Okay, well, overall, I didn't hate this movie. I just didn't think it was better than the 2015 version. Yeah.
I'll watch it next year. Like I'll do it again. I will. I enjoyed it enough. Hey
Tad. Thanks for joining. I don't know. I didn't hate it. I thought the 2018 version was okay. I would have been okay had the 2018 version been the only one. Had they killed him in the basement, he burned up, and they were finally over. And Lori had finally beat the trauma that she had been haunted with for so many decades. I would have been completely. I thought that. And I think in some people's mind, they may honestly make that their own end, because I don't know if. I think if they're saying it's gonna piss people off, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's like, don't try to aim to piss people off. Just tell a good story. It'll either piss people off or it won't, but just tell a good story. Don't try to like aim at being a subversive necessarily. You know, I feel like that should come naturally, or it feels contrived. Like you're trying to be, you know, up on stuff, you know, so it feels a little put on.
You think Michael's going to kill Lori in the next one and Halloween ends for her?
I'd be also mad at that. I feel like the only way, I'll put it out here now, the only way, let me know y'all, the only way y'all are going to be happy with Halloween ends, the only way I'll be happy is if Lori wins. She has to win, because I don't know why you bring her back for a trilogy for her to just die.
That's fair.
Why bring her back for that? You could have done this with some other character. But of course you needed Lori, because that's who brought us in. So you better have it so she wins. Either she wins and he dies and she gets to move on, or she wins and she takes them both out. I'll be fine with that. That's the most intense I'll go, is if they take them both out. If it has to be bleak, if she goes out, she has to take him with her.
Yeah, and they just bleed on the floor like, you know, God and Adam touching each other in that famous painting.
Exactly.
And then
although they'll probably do something where he somehow survives. See, this is the thing too. They've made him supernatural. So now they've got to establish, how can Lori kill this guy? Because she can't just stab him.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, she must win. She is the chosen one.
Yeah, Jen is saying. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I'm, you know, and Todd, let me see. Toddy is saying, I'm torn, do something different. Yeah, I don't know. But I don't want it to be that she dies.
Can we, I don't know if this is early or not. Like, because I'm like, we're talking about like ways that we didn't like what was happening.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, can I talk about my favorite kill?
Go ahead. Yeah. Say your favorite kill.
My favorite kill, and this is a really deep cut, this is going to show my age, but I really love the characters Little John and Big John, and I believe Little John was played by Michael McDonald, another Michael, who, if you remember, he was from Mad TV.
Yes.
And also, I mean, I like him because he was the very first comedian I've ever watched live when I was old enough to go to comedy clubs. But he also died in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery, the same way, to a guy whose name is Mike Myers. And I know people have talked about that on Facebook, and I'm in that camp too. But he literally gets run over by a steamroller, and he's like, no! And he used that no, that he died in Austin Powers, that he died in Halloween Kills, and that was a really cool homage.
I think he's known to show up in a couple of horror movies where he gets killed off. Yeah, I think I saw someone mention that he shows up in a couple of horror movies and he tends to get killed off, and I think that's awesome.
I've always
wanted to be Dead Girl number 5 in a horror movie, so I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and yes, Tad, I am doing American Horror Story. That is going to be at 3:15 PST time, and yes, we will be I don't want to say the annihilation, but yeah, we gotta talk about American Horror Story. And also, if you all are watching Titans right after this stream, I will be doing on my YouTube, for those who are watching Twitch, I'll be doing on the YouTube the season finale of Titans. And also, for those of you who occasionally go on Twitch from over on YouTube, or if you are on Twitch and you are watching me right now, I am going to be starting to do some horror and genre gameplay on there, along with just chatting and things like that. So check that out. Michael will be as well. He plays Diablo in Resident Evil. I will be playing some games if you're into that sort of thing. So check that out. in the future. That's why I'm on this. And y'all, thank you so much for dealing with me with this new interface, because I'm on a different kind of streaming platform right now. So I was kind of playing with it. So I appreciate you all as I was trying to get the stuff going. I'm digging it too. Yeah. Okay, so overall, those were our thoughts about Halloween Kills. It wasn't the best. I thought 2018 was better. I think the 1978 version is still the best one. But overall, I did not hate this. And I just, a little aside, I would say, Peacock, please get your closed captions together, because we had issues with that. For those of you who wanted to watch it on closed caption, if you have hearing issues, that may be an issue depending on what device you watch it on. So don't overlook communities, Peacock.
I'm partially deaf, and
we had a big problem watching.
Yeah, some of the audio wasn't perfect. You can't really hear, and I mean, I couldn't. And it was weird. We had to we still got to watch it though.
Yes,
it would have been nice, Peacock, I love NBC, it's great, but a little, you gotta fix that.
Yeah. Toddy is saying, I'll give this give the movie a C. Thanks for joining us, Blake. Always a pleasure. And you can watch American Horror Story on the replay, because I'm sure you'll have plenty of things to say. But once again, thank you all for joining. It's always a pleasure. Hopefully we'll be doing more of these deep dives into some of these movies. I believe I'm going to probably have Candyman and Dune coming up next, because we're gonna dive into Dune soon enough. And also, I do want to talk about Candyman once I get a chance to sit down and watch it. But once again, thank you all. If you haven't already, if you're not following, please do follow. Give this a like button on whatever platform you're watching this on, whether it be YouTube or Twitch. And it's always a pleasure. Thanks again, y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you later. Be creepy somewhere, but nicely.
You know what you should do? At the very end, find a way to Photoshop the white part of my